Welcome to Alt Majority, the number one spiritual podcast in the United States. I'm Shae.
And I am Shannon. I'm Shae's mom, and she's demonstrating actually the very thing that we're going to talk about today, which is turning our thoughts into things.
Yes, bum, ba, da, bum, my favorite thing to do.
So so on our channel, we talk about spirituality. We talk about the law of attraction. We talk about awakening, spiritual awakenings. We talk about, universe type things. What else, Shae?
Just the laws of the universe in general, how to implement them into your life, ways that you can implement spiritual living into your daily routine.
Yeah, definitely. So today we want to talk about a couple different things, but really, we really want to talk about this idea of thoughts turning into things. And what does that mean? And how do you actually do that? And it really goes to the very heart of the law of attraction. It's really, how do we manifest? What is that? How do we go about doing that? And how do our thoughts actually turn into things?
Yep. Yeah, I heard someone say the phrase, your thoughts are a living thing, probably 3 years ago, and it changed my whole mindset of just even when I'm alone, what type of thoughts am I having? Those are really the phrase, you ask and you shall receive. If you ask, you shall receive, has everything to do with not just what you're speaking out loud, but the fact that everything is energy. And so, why wouldn't your thoughts be a part of that as well? I think a lot of people exclude that and put a lot of energy and effort into the manifested real things that they can touch without realizing that their thoughts are mega important in the things that they're calling into their life.
I mean, if you look around at every single object you see, it started out as a thought.
Yeah.
Every single one. So that's literally how we have a thought about something, and we actually either decide to take action on that and make it become something or not. We derail, or we take a thought that we have and we say to ourselves either, hey, I can do this. I can have this. This isn't mine. Or we say to ourselves, that's not for me. That's too hard. I can't have that. I don't know how to do that. Somebody else maybe might be able to do that, but not me. And it's such a easy kind of contrast to really pick up, to just to notice, which person are we? What type of person are we? Are we the one that is grabbing things up from our thoughts and manifesting, or are we the ones that actually are not able to manifest because we're calling in a bunch of other thoughts that are blocking us? What is it?
Well, and a lot of it, I think, comes down to, how a person was conditioned as a young child into adulthood, your vibe is your tribe type of thing. So what are the people around you saying to you when you come up with a thought and you say it out loud can really determine how then you are reacting to your own thoughts before you even speak them out into the world. So I think that's such a big portion of these mental habits that we get kind of train ourselves to commit to. And this is just a reminder to everybody that you have the ability to change your own thoughts. You don't have to continue thinking the same way that you have thought in the past. Now is the moment to change that so that you are able to manifest the reality that it is you wish to create.
It goes right to another one of the tenets of the law of attraction, which is the law of suggestion. Yeah. And we've talked about this before. What you tell yourself is who you are. What you program into yourself or allow to be programmed into yourself is what ends up manifesting into your life. So when we think about how thoughts are things, and so many times we just let our thoughts run away and we don't even really pay attention to really what we're thinking. But we might be unintentionally reinforcing something really negative about ourselves. We might be dragging ourselves down a road that actually brings us things that we don't want. And then we look around our life and we're like, what is happening? And it goes into so much into what are we telling ourselves? We've talked about that inner voice before. What is that inner voice saying?
And I think that's something also that can distract you from your own thoughts and following your own intuition, and really manifesting your thoughts into reality can be comparing yourself to others. And there is a phrase that I love that one of my teachers taught me, that if it's happened, it is written in the quantum field. So if something has happened, it is out there for you to receive if you are willing to receive it, if you are willing to vibrate at whatever energy that thing is vibrating at. And so I don't even know where I was going there. What did I say to begin with?
Well, I mean, think about how there's no original thought. Yes. Or just that how the morphic field basically works. And if anybody's thought it, that thought is then out there for anyone to get. We're all collective. We're all collectively connected, I think is really what you're saying. And if we are all collectively connected, if we're all influenced by each other, then we're all potentially influenced by the suggestions that we're actually either saying or putting into each other, saying to ourselves, but we're also putting into each other, right? So that's where I go back to this power of suggestion. And what are you seeing? What are you thinking? What are you putting into your head? In the same way you would ask yourself, what are you putting into your body when you're eating? Right. So the power of suggestion, and really the power of auto-suggestion, which is the idea of planting a thought inside your own head intentionally, consciously. This is really how we control some of that, just that mindless sort of chatter that goes on. Instead of allowing all that to go on, we actually consciously decide what we're going to put in our own head. And it was exactly how you started us out with our episode, saying that we were the #1 spiritual show, because, you know, it's not just the saying it over and over and over. That's just part of the equation, or though that's a big part of the equation though. Yeah. You think about like somebody who's been given a nickname or whatever that has just maybe stuck with them since they were a little kid, and they really start to identify that themselves with that nickname. And let's say it's some negative nickname. They really intake that. They really take that into their energy. They really reinforce that negative thought every single time they respond to that and identify with that. Same thing when we have a positive energy vibe going. If we can get it going that way, seems like it's so easy to get on the negative thought trains.
Yeah, super easy. And we've alluded to this in almost every single episode, but we are playing a human game. And so it is important to acknowledge the negative thoughts just as you would the positive thoughts. But then it's what you do with those negative thoughts that really makes a difference. You know, we aren't our thoughts, but the power of our thoughts is so grand. And so if you can harness this energy of what your thoughts really are, you can really turn into a beautiful creator for yourself and for others and for the entire earth.
Right. And really, when we think about what are thoughts, what are we even talking about? I mean, there's a saying that says basically the will always yields to imagination. If we think about like our thoughts, sometimes we'll think about them as their willpower or whatever, but actually it's our imagination that creates everything. It's our imagination that actually tells us the stories about who we are. It's our imagination that gathers up all the input, all the sensory input after we've had an event, and puts it together in story form and tells us a little mini story about what was that. Mm-hmm. And that's how we know two people can have the same exact event and create completely different stories. Part of what's going on is they're adding in with their imagination, and they're building their reality with their imagination, just like we do every single day. we think about, even just something like an artist who creates something, where are they getting that? They're getting it from their imagination. They're pulling it. They're making their thought turn into a thing. We all do this every single day, whether we know it or not, whether we understand that all of the things that we hear or all the things that we repeat to ourselves. Think about your 7-year download, all of the program you had as a child, all of the things you were told about your reality and who you are as a being and what you're capable of. I was thinking about the study they did where they essentially told some teachers, they randomly picked 20% of the kids' names out of a hat, and they told the teachers, these kids are gifted. And the teachers had that implanted that these particular kids were gifted. And so they started to track the kids. And over time, they noticed the scores, the test scores, the literal IQ tests of the kids started to show that they were actually gifted. And it went all the way back to implanting into the teacher, who were then implanting into the kid.
Yeah.
And they were telling the kid, and the kid was saying to themselves, I'm gifted, I'm special, I'm amazing, I can do this. Look, I'm really smart. In fact, I'm smarter than most people. And so the kids started to believe it, the teacher believed it, and then it became, it's so amazing. The power of our thoughts, our brains, like imagination, just suggestion. It's incredible when you really think about how totally impactful the power of suggestion is, and just where we get it from so many places. But wow, right, Shae? Wow.
Oh my gosh. It's just a reminder and just a reinforcement of the practice of affirmations, and the consistency. If you consistently tell yourself affirmations, there is no doubt in my mind that it will come true. I've
Right.
seen it in my own life. I've seen it in others' life. And so you have the power to change your life with just your thoughts, with just what you are telling yourself that you are, what you want to be, what you have.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible. It's just something that if you can unlock it and tap into that, you can have whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. And I was listening to something that said, you ask the universe for things 99% of the time, you get it in a way that you weren't expecting. And so that's just a reminder too. You can ask for something, but then it's up to you to trust and surrender to that the universe is going to deliver it to you. And it might not be in the way that you expect it's going to be delivered or in the way that you imagined, but it will be delivered to you, all with due patience and trust and surrender.
So it goes back to the faith. It
Yeah.
goes back to faith. How does a person get faith? If I just could look around my reality and I see that the thing that I'm trying to manifest is not here, and that's what I'm noticing. And I'm doing the affirmations and I'm getting this, and I'm thanking universe, thank you for this thing, thank you for this thing, still looking around, it's not here. So how can I get some faith going and get just some momentum going on my side? Because really it turns out to be faith really is a product of the suggestions that you're telling your subconscious on a regular basis. And then your subconscious will generate faith and will reward you with like this hope, this faith that something is coming. And so it's just going into the subconscious and letting it know and letting it program my reality.
Right.
So even though I might look around and say, I don't see it, it's not here yet, if I can keep going in and keep affirming and keep saying it over and over, despite what I'm noticing, like you said, I got to have patience here. That's how my subconscious is going to reward me with some faith, which I'm going to be able to combine with some emotion. And then next thing I know, here's my thing. Here's the thing I've been waiting for.
I see a lot of people go into a fear mindset when they don't get the thing that they're asking for. And so
Yeah.
what would be your advice to the person who is trying hard but also does have these negative thoughts in their heads still.
I think it's what I was saying about stop noticing the lack so much. Stop focusing on the fact that you don't have it. You could even say to yourself, well, I don't have it yet, but you're just still noticing that you don't have it. So it's shifting the mind, it's shifting the thoughts away from I don't have it to vibrating toward a gratitude for it.
Yeah.
That
And
hey,
that's
just pouring into my head, just more affirmations. And really, we've talked about this before too. What I'm going for usually in a manifestation is a feeling.
yeah.
It's a feeling that I think I'm going to have when I have that thing, or I get to do that thing, or I meet the person, or whatever. It's the feeling I'm trying to get. So
Yeah.
the best way to get around the fear is to just let go of the expectation of what exactly it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And instead, give it up to the universe. Just have the faith. Just tell yourself, I'm worthy. I'm worthy. One of my favorite affirmations, you've heard me say it many times, I'm sure. Everything is always working out for me. Everything's always working out for me. It's amazing. And guess what? It turns out everything is always working out for me. And it's like I've said that over and over, and I've been able to program my subconscious to believe that, so that now when I look around my reality, I say, oh, wow, everything is always working out for my benefit. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's I love this work. I love this work so much. And something that has been popping in is just like flow over fear. Flow over fear. Everything that we see is just an illusion of the eye. It's an illusion of our minds. And so we are the creators of our universe. Don't get caught up. It's easy to get caught up, especially in comparison and what you don't have. But
Right.
the base layer of everything is gratitude. If you can just change
really
your
is.
life to look at being grateful for what you actually have, that changes everything. Because suddenly you don't even think about the lack at all. You're just grateful for exactly where you're at right now. And
Yeah.
just another reminder too that all we have is right now. Moment is now.
Right now. At one point, you were manifesting this.
Yep. So be grateful. And that's another reason. Be grateful for where you are. You have to meet yourself where you are, right? You can't just, you shouldn't live in the past. You shouldn't live in the future. You have to meet yourself exactly where you are, especially if you're on this path of being the creator of your life.
Right. Because there is no end. There is no end. There's no like destination we get to where we're like, okay, we made it. We finally made it. Like maybe once we get through this whole earthly life, who knows? Maybe when we get on the other side of the veil there, we're going to be saying we made it through this life. But while we're here, we're still going. So I love how we're just constantly manifesting. We're on the leading edge of reality right now. So we have to grab onto that choice that we have to live. But I love this idea of the auto suggestion and the affirmations. And really, once I started paying attention to the things I was saying to myself, it changed my life. Honestly, it completely changed my life. When I stopped being my worst critic, my worst enemy, then everything switched around on me. And I started becoming my biggest cheerleader. I started becoming my biggest fan. I started telling myself I can do it. And then I could. Suddenly I could, despite any evidence existing that I actually could do it. And that's the whole part of it, is that we understand not everybody comes from a point of privilege. Not everybody comes from having, some love instilled inside yourself and some will and ability. And you may have had somebody telling you the complete opposite. When we were thinking about this topic about what do we tell ourselves, I was reminded of that study they did called ACEs. It's the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, where they basically found out that in your childhood, if you have experienced certain adverse experiences, such as, a bunch of it, just like abuse, neglect, separation of a parent, like death of a loved one, lack of food, lack of housing, that kind of stuff. All of those things, basically, the more you had of those events in your childhood, the more likely you were to, in your adulthood, have physical ailments, like actual medical issues, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, self-harm issues, housing issues. It's crazy. It tracked. And it just reminds me so much of how we put the programming in. And that's a lot of times it sticks because there isn't another outside source putting in some positive thing in the head. And so therefore it ends up being to us. Now, happily, a lot of us have some outside source giving us some affirmation and love, but sometimes we don't have anyone but us. So it's up to us. And for some of us, that's the hard life lessons we picked in this life, is to just learn resilience and learn self-love, regardless of what your reality is telling you. It's just to decide, I'm going to love myself anyway. I'm going to tell myself I can make it anyway. And it's powerful. It's powerful to be able to watch the human resiliency, right? Like how resilient people can be, and how when you see somebody switch their mindset around, it's literally your mindset. It's wild to just know that we can create anything we want with these thoughts. We can pull in any experience, any vibration. We can be thankful in any experience, almost any experience. And if we can't be in it in the moment, we can definitely find it afterwards if we're willing to dig deep enough and really look at it from a higher perspective of our soul.
And it's switching, why is this happening to me, into what is this here to teach me?
What is this here to teach me? And it's taking control of it. And that's really what else I like about this idea of like suggestion and auto suggestion. It's it's an acknowledgement that I can take control of my thoughts. My thoughts aren't going to take control of me.
Right.
And a lot of times we feel like our thoughts are in control of us because they won't stop. Nothing stops spinning in there. It won't shut up. Like we can't get it to silence. We can't get those thoughts to stop. But yeah, you actually can. Sometimes we have to pay attention to what we're getting out of those thoughts. We've talked about this before about woundology, and a lot of times building up our wounds to justify our actions, the actions that our ego very often wants to take to make our own self feel better. So sometimes we'll lean in on our wounds and we'll say we're justified. I get this because of this thing that happened to me, and I get to do that because that person hurt me, or I'm entitled to this because I don't have this other thing. But those type of thoughts, all they're doing is just reinforcing over and over this lack mentality, this fear. Like you were talking about, people getting into the fear. All that's doing is reinforcing the lack of the thing, and it's just reinforcing the wound. And this is not how to bring in those positive manifestations you want in. That's not how to take those beautiful imaginations that you have and turn them into the things in your life.
And so that just makes me think of if you're somebody who happens to find yourself surrounded by people who are wounded, like how is that affecting your own thoughts, and what can you do to kind of protect yourself from the thoughts of others, right? Because if you're around people who are hurting, then is their power of suggestion inevitably entering your energy field? Seems like the answer would be yes. And so
Well, you know what they say about hurt people hurt people.
yes, yes. And actually, as I'm saying this, it's like, okay, you can choose to allow things into your energy field or not. Nobody can do anything to you without your permission. So that is just, I'm answering my own question here, but what is your perspective of that?
You have to get to a point where you don't let anybody else ever tell you how to feel about you. Just never. Just don't do it. Don't let anybody else tell you how to feel about you or how to talk to you or what to think about you. You control all of that. And the moment you give somebody else the power to make you feel a certain way about yourself, well, I mean, that's where, what's that?
Energy leak. It's literally
That's,
like allowing
yeah,
an energy leak into your system.
right. That's where you've now lost it. You've lost control of your own energy, your own power. So it is something you have to tell yourself and train yourself and get yourself to do, to understand, to accept that you have that power to basically not allow that energy in. But it does take constant affirmations to the self.
Yeah.
Constant affirmations, even if you're getting them from an outside source, because sometimes when you're getting a lot from an outside source, it's too easy to get it from them, from that person or that source. And then when that's gone, now you're in trouble. And that's where people in like these codependent relationships, when they have trouble and they break up, then they can't take it because they've had all of their needs met by this person. This person's the one that's telling them every day that they are lovable and worthy. This person's the one that's making them feel valued every single day. And when they're gone, it just falls out from beneath them because they don't have that inner strength within themselves to love themselves, to care for themselves, to build themselves up. So if we could start from day one and building our kids up to love themselves and have that strength within them, then they won't have those experiences. Or, we're human, by the way.
Yeah.
So when we do, and we inevitably have these very human experiences, we learn.
Yep.
We're willing to learn. We're not so prideful that we say, well, that experience I had with that person, that's because they're a bad person.
Yeah. It's the line from one of my favorite songs, "Don't dwell about it, learn about it."
That's it. It's learn about it. Otherwise, why the wasted energy is, the energy is wasted. If you haven't been willing to look at it, you won't be able to take control of the thoughts. If you're unwilling to look at your own stuff, your own actions, take responsibility for your own things, don't blame other people, don't point the finger outward, always look inward and see what can you do. And people genuinely can hurt us and take bad actions against us that have nothing to do with us, have 100% to do with them. But still, we have to be able to get to those inner kind of reserves of strength that everybody has, and just get those built up to the point where when you have the weak moment and you have allowed someone to tell you how to feel about yourself, because we all do, right? It's the person that we love that actually is the one that can do these things, because we don't care about a stranger telling us, not as much. I mean, if our ego pops up when that happens, but it's the ones that we love that can hurt us. They're the ones that we sometimes allow to tell us who we are. And it doesn't feel good when we do that. And that's how come it's easy to do, because we love and trust and look up to and want approval from these other people. So it's easy to give them our power.
And this is, in times when I have succumbed to this, I have been trying to create the habit of, when I am feeling wounded by somebody else, it is hurt people. And so what's going on with you? This has nothing to do with me. This is just a reflection of how you are feeling. And so it's all a practice of habit. It
total habit.
Self-love is a practice, affirmation is a practice, recognizing when other people are just projecting their hurt onto you is a practice, not taking things personally is a practice. And so here's your calling. listener to just start practicing today and just see how it goes. I mean, every day you're going to have the ebbs and flows of life, just inevitably. What's going on with the collective consciousness? What's going on in your own universal rhythms of the seasons, of nature? Just practice and see and notice, what seasons are the highs, what times are the lows, and how do you react in these times, and just learn from each interaction.
I take us back to where we started about how do thoughts turn into things. Well, the things we think influence the things we do, and the things we do is what creates our life. It's just that simple. So we pay attention to the things we think because we want to pay attention to the things we do. We don't want our subconscious driving the bus.
Yeah.
The subconscious will be all over the place, especially if we're giving our subconscious all sorts of negative directions, or confusing directions, or contradicting instructions, which we often do. So this is another reason why to really, really pay attention to those thoughts, because we want those beautiful manifestations that we're looking for to show up in our lives. We want those positive things. We want to have those beautiful things in our imagination show up. So we have to allow them in. We have to let them in. We have to get that brain going in the direction that we want.
And so I know we talked about affirmations are a great way to reprogram the subconscious. What are some other practical ways that we can include the law of suggestion into our own lives?
Affirmations are a good one, but what about mantras?
Yeah.
I mean, what about prayer? There's another one. That's really what that is. Mantras are just repeating something over and over and over and just digging it deep into your subconscious. Same with prayers. Same with any type of ritual that you might be doing. It's the ritualistic stuff. It's deep programming. Think about, religion. It's essentially just that. It's deep programming where they're doing rituals over and over and over. Yeah. Same type of thing. You can do different rituals, daily rituals for yourself that include things like mantras and affirmations, and it can be anything that you're doing to just reinforce your own worthiness, to reinforce your own self-love and self-care and self-divinity and your own power. Anything you're doing over and over to bring your own power in. What else can you think of, Shae?
Just setting aside time for those things. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 1 minute. Just allowing yourself the time that you deserve to fill your own cup up. Yoga is something I do. Grounding outside on the earth is something that I do. Journaling, reading, conversing with others who are going to lift you up. Finding a teacher, finding a guide, a mentor. These are all ways that you can implement the law of suggestion in your life by just listening to positive things that are going to bring you higher. I mean, I think about people who come home from work and they're watching 3 hours of Netflix before they go to sleep. Like, I've been there, right? And then you're in your own way subconsciously programming your own mind.
Sure.
From what these characters on a TV show are saying. And know, it's great. It's a great, some people love that. You do you. But
it's a distraction sometimes from life. That's totally fine. But pay attention to what you're ingesting in there.
Yes, exactly. Your thoughts are living things. So now I'm thinking I'm somewhere else, and I'm thinking about this character who isn't even a real person. And it's like, just pay attention to the things that you are consuming. What you're listening to, what you're seeing, what you're eating, what you're feeling, all of it. Just be, and I don't want to say hyper aware, because there is a point where it's like you don't want to allow that to consume your life. I've been there as well, where it's like, okay, I have to have the right crystals. My space needs to be perfectly clean, or else I can't do this. It's like, no, actually just meet yourself exactly where you are. You have all you need right now. You do. You don't have to do anything special except for just be. And that's why I love affirmations so much, because it's only your thoughts. You don't need any other physical thing except for your thoughts that are inevitably running anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and whatever little tools you have that can help you, let those help you if that does, but don't rely on that. You're always going to have your head.
Yeah.
So you can go back to just the breath. We bring this up every single time, right? Just the breath. Go back to the breath. That'll always save you when you really get those thoughts spinning where you feel like you can't shut down the negative thinking. They're in, take a moment, breathe in, get some breaths in, and really then start trying to consciously switch those thoughts around. But don't ever feel like you don't have the control of your own human body, because you do.
You
You
do.
have control over your body.
And
So,
I encourage everybody to find something that is just like your reset. For me, it's
yeah,
inhale, exhale, horse lips. I do that and I'm just resetting my nervous system. It's like whatever just happened that made me feel like I needed to take that breath and release that energy, it's done now. So explore, experiment what that looks like. It might look like jumping up and down 3 times, might look like taking a big inhale, big exhale. It might look like whatever it is. It could be the possibilities are endless with that, but just find ways that you can use your own vessel to support yourself.
right. And just look around your environment and try to get rid of the negative auto suggestions that you have around you.
Yeah.
Try to find where you're bringing yourself down, where your environment's bringing you down, where you're allowing yourself to be brought down, your energy to be brought down, and avoid if you can, or switch it around, or build up your personal shield around you.
I mean, just as your thoughts turn into living things, the objects that you have are holding memories. And so if
Yeah.
you have something that is holding memories that aren't pleasant to you, please, it's your right. Get rid of it. Get
Thank
rid
you, Marie Kondo, right? Thank you, Marie
Yes.
Kondo.
Is it bringing you joy? If it's not bringing you joy, out of here. I think
Out.
about last summer, right before I went on this big hiking trip, you told me, I was looking through my phone. I didn't have enough space on my phone, and I was worried about capturing pictures on there. And you were like, well, you don't need all the pictures that are on there. You live those moments, right? And as I'm scrolling back through these pictures, I'm being reminded of times where I did feel low and not my best. And why would you hold on to that? Why am I letting this? It's filling up space in something I use every single day. So just take a look at what is filling up your space. And that can be digitally, and that can be physically, and that can be in your own mind. And
For sure.
declutter. I mean, that's where I'm so passionate about where you live and like how your things are placed. And yes, the objects that surround you should be bringing you joy. And if they're not, they are just holding memories and they're holding energy that isn't serving you. And so,
Yeah.
why would you allow that into your own field?
Not only that, but they're taking up energetic space
Yes.
in place of the things that you're trying to manifest. So until you're willing to let go of the things that are no longer serving you, the things that you don't even care about, think about the junk drawer in your house and what is in there. Do you need that stuff, and why won't you let that stuff go? And it's such a reflection of the outer is a reflection of the inner.
Yeah.
If you have mentally all your stuff cleaned up and all of your mentally organized, and you're with it, and you're with your thoughts, and your thoughts are connected, and what you're doing, it's going to be reflected in your outside environment. And I don't mean to suggest that people who are messy
I was just
outside are
about to say
messy
this too.
inside, but slightly yes. I slightly yes do. It's
Well, I
like
was just
that.
about to say everybody has their own system, right? So
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't have to compare your system to somebody else's system
Right.
and think, oh, Shay does it like this. I'm not doing it like this. I must not be okay. No, everybody has their own system. What works for you works for you, but you have to figure out what works for you.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, if you're the person who's willing to shove a bunch of stuff in boxes and shove it down into your garage or basement and just you don't want to pay attention to that stuff, is that the way you are in your mind? You also have a bunch of junk in your mind that you're just not willing to deal with, and you just want to stick it in a box and shove it in the corner of your brain to forget about? Well, it's holding space.
Yes.
It's holding energetic space. So when you're trying to bring good things in your life, universe is like, well, it's all full. Looks all full at the end, guys. Like, doesn't look like you have any room. You're just like full already in there. So it's not going to bring it in. So let go of those things and pay attention to your vibration. Pay attention to the cluttery thoughts that you're having. Are you waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror and saying, wow, you got this? Thank you, universe. Thank you for this day. Anything can happen. I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. Or are you just alternatively being like, wow, I hate my life. I hate everything. I don't like myself. And if that's what you're saying, you're just reinforcing that on a constant basis.
And
And
I
if,
think this really just leads us into non-attachment.
yeah,
You don't have to be attached to these objects that are filling your space. You don't have to be attached to these thoughts that are telling you you are something or you're not something. And that's why it's so important. And practicing non-attachment can be so simple as, I'm going to take out the garbage every time it's full, instead of I'm attached to this thing that I'm shoving garbage into. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to go inside my house and get rid of all these objects that have been with me for so long. No, I mean, just start super small.
right. I told you about my junk mail pile, how I had this junk mail. Like,
Yeah.
Where it just kept getting bigger and bigger. It's as if the more junk mail I refused to deal with, the universe just called in more and more. And until like finally got about like getting rid of it and shredding stuff and throwing stuff away. And finally now I do not have a giant accumulated junk mail pile because I'm not keeping that stuff.
Thank you for helping me with my trash can analogy, because it wasn't a good one, but that's exactly it. You were not attached to it, right? You were letting it pile up, but that was an attachment. That was inevitably an attachment.
In a weird way. It's like it's not that I wanted that stuff, but it was my refusal to deal with it.
Yeah.
Where just life happens and you have to deal with things. You have to throw your junk mail away. You have to empty your trash can. You have to do your dishes, whatever. You have to pay your bill. So, it's too easy sometimes to distract yourself with other things.
Yeah.
But when you distract yourself, just know you are not gonna be actively manifesting your greatest wishes and desires,
right.
Because you're spending your time and in your energy just distracting yourself with things that are unwanted, or I don't want to notice that, or I don't want to pay attention to that. And then you look around, you're like, why isn't it going the way I want? Well, pay attention a little bit to what your thoughts are creating.
And just practice radical self-love. Treat yourself like you would somebody that you love more than anything.
Right.
That's just how I remind myself every single day. I just remember being in partnerships in the past where it's like, let's go for a walk. And it's like, no, I don't want to. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going on a walk now either. It's like, no, if you want to go on a walk, go on a walk. You don't have to let somebody else's energy penetrate and decide what you're going to do. And that comes back to our episode on how to listen to your intuition. Definitely go check that out if you haven't already, on how do you listen to your intuition? How do you just follow that without comparing yourself and letting other people's opinions and expectations sway you one way or the other, right? And so it is practicing non-attachment. Practice radical self.
Practice it. We also talked a lot about this in our how to get your power back episode, right? So the same kind of stuff, same stuff. So this has been a great chat, Shae. I'm really grateful, as usual, for our lovely discussions. And I partly do this because I love to create the reality that you and I have this YouTube channel where we get to not only talk to each other, but we get to talk to the whole world. And it's incredible. And I'm so grateful that we turned this thought into a thing. How about it?
Absolutely. Yes, we did. We are the creators of our own universe. And thank you so much for your wisdom. It's a blessing and an honor to do this with you.
Absolutely. So please give us a like. Please subscribe to us. Thanks for listening to our whole entire video if you made it this far. And we look forward to seeing you next week. We got a new video every single Monday. And thanks for spending time with us. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, please share with a friend if you feel so inclined. Leave us a review, any comments or anything that suggestions, anything you want to hear us talk about, please let us know. We are here for you. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next Monday.